People need to relax about the Jon Jones situation. He is not retired, and he's not ducking Aspinall. He's simply just going to, go with the flow, and when he wants to, he's going to pop out and show him, man. It's not that he's ducking Tom. He's just going to pop out and show him, man. He's been doing that his whole career, and he has the ability to beat anyone on any given night, any way he wants. And maybe Aspinall defends the belt a couple more times, sails off into the sunset. Jones is going to pop out and show us when he comes back to fight a big, fat, tubby heavyweight with absolutely zero grappling defense. Jones is not retired. Of course, I'm just messing around, guys. Jon Jones is basically telling us without telling us that he is as retired as they could possibly get. We will talk about that. Iliaa Topuria is going to move up to 170 pounds. At least that's according to his brother, Alexandre Topuria. He's saying Ilia wants to get that third belt if he beats Charles Oliveira. And he's been talking about Makhachev, and I still think we need to see that fight. I'm also worried about this, and no one's talking about this, but I feel like Arman Tsarukyan's getting left out, and I have a bad feeling about his standing with the UFC. I'm starting to get the vibe that we may actually not see Arman Tsarukyan fight in the UFC again. That's not according to any source. I just want to mention this just to put it out in the universe so that we do not allow the UFC to cut ties with such a phenomenal fighter in his prime with so much potential, because if you get rid of him, you really handicap the lightweight division. But first and foremost, we're going to get to the Jon Jones situation. I'm going to tell you guys why he retired. I'm going to tell you that it actually doesn't make that big of a difference, even though the UFC may think it makes a difference. But and then after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a card for Tom Aspinall's return that would sell a ton of pay-per-views so that it wouldn't matter if Jones is no longer around. And there's a way to do it, and that is the UFC needs to switch up on Jon Jones. Dana White needs to stop glazing Jon Jones, and he needs to start promoting Tom Aspinall. It's time for a complete 180. Jon Jones is coping. He's saying, I'm not retired. I'll just pop out and show him. Yeah. When Aspinall, if he gets injured or if he decides to retire after a couple more wins, then Jon Jones will pop out and show us, man. He's going to come back against Volkov. He'll pop out and show us. And then we'll really know he's the GOAT. Let's be honest. Tom Aspinall retired Jon Jones without even fighting him. Aspinall said he would do this. He's doing it. People say Jones isn't scared. DC says Jones isn't scared. Is he scared? No, he's not, shivering in his timbers or shivering in his boots because he's afraid of getting punched. But he's clearly fucking scared of losing. I'm tired of people saying, he's not scared. Yes, he is. He's scared of not losing. He is petrified of getting in there and getting knocked out in front of the world against Tom Aspinall. He doesn't want to get KO'd. Is he afraid of getting punched? Is he afraid of getting teep kicked? No. Jon Jones is super tough. He's not afraid of a fight. He's afraid of getting KO'd and having that on his record. It's official. He's done. The UFC needs to strip Jon Jones of the heavyweight title immediately. We're done waiting around. And the only argument as to why they are continuing to string us along is because the UFC is negotiating a new deal, a new pay-per-view deal. They're looking at Netflix. They're looking at all these different streaming platforms, and they're trying to get the best deal possible. And they know that Jon Jones, even though they have other stars like Islam Makhachev and Khamzat Chimaev, big names, Ilia Topuria, they're big overseas. Topuria's huge in Spain. Makhachev's huge in the Middle East, in Russia. And of course, they're pretty popular with the American fan base, but they're not like huge pay-per-view draws because Jones has been around for so long, because he's sort of a household name when it comes to people that just have sort of a clue about what MMA is. He has that old school pay-per-view ability because he's been around. He's been in so many pay-per-views since the early 2010s. He is one of the only guys in the UFC that can literally draw a big amount of pay-per-views. And that's just because there's a lot of casuals that they're like, the GOAT's back. They still think of Jon Jones as Michael Jordan or whatever. And listen, I'm not saying he's not, on paper, the best fighter with the best resume. But the point is, there are still a lot of people that think, the GOAT's back, man. He's coming out of retirement. They picture Jon Jones as like that lion in The Lion King, where it's the Lion King 2 and Alex is meeting all the lions. And then he gets into this fight. And there's this other guy, Fufu or whatever the hell his name is, the big lion that wakes up in the cave. And that's how the casuals view Jon Jones. Tom Aspinall's out here freaking yapping his gums like Alex. He's all cocky, man. Yeah, I'm from the Bronx Zoo, man. I'm from the Bronx Zoo, man. And here comes Jones rumbling and bumbling out of the cave, man. The real king is back, man. Yeah, but that ain't him. That's not Jon Jones, son. That ain't Jon Jones. The casuals need to learn this is old hobblestone knees Jones. Okay? But the point is, there's still a big coalition of super casual fans that will only watch McGregor, Jones, and Nate Diaz that still view Jon Jones as the Lion and the Lion King 2 that comes out of the cave. He's like 20,000 feet tall. You get the point. So they'll watch Jon Jones fight. And the UFC knows that, like, oh, dude, we got Jones. Look, here's the statistics. He sells in the modern era. That's big, right? But if the UFC just does a 180 and they start just, you don't even have to bullshit. You just say, hey, this guy retired Jon Jones. He's so dangerous. He's finishing everybody so quickly. He's literally MMA's Mike Tyson. Just switch up, just flip up on a dime, Dana White, because you should have been doing this to begin with. Just start saying, hey, man, Jon Jones doesn't want the smoke. And I've always said Jones is the baddest dude on the planet. He doesn't want the smoke with this Aspinall guy. This is our Mike Tyson. He can do it on the ground. He can do it on the feet. He's got the shortest average fight time in UFC history. And you know what? I mean, Mighty Mouse is doing interviews with him. The MMA Guru's doing interviews with him. It's time for the UFC's PR team to step up and start promoting this guy like they promoted Francis Ngannou back in the day when he was first booked to fight Stipe, where Dana White was on stage getting tomato red-faced, talking about how Francis Ngannou hits like a sledgehammer and a Ford Escort. It's time to do that with Tom. It's time to bring Aspinall onto ESPN primetime TV with Stephen A. Smith and talk about how Jones retired and just say, we tried to do everything it could possibly take. Nobody wants to fight this guy. Nobody, even his next opponent, Cyril Gane. We basically had to beg this guy. And there can be a little bit of back and forth between Tom Aspinall and Gane, and they can go on TV and do a face-to-face, and Tom will be super respectful, say, listen, I always wanted this fight. I can't do a fucking Aspinall impression. I always wanted this fight, but, you didn't want to fight. And then Gane's going to say, he's going to try to gaslight everyone into acting super confused. I don't know what he's saying. And the point is, it's time to get him onto primetime TV. It's time to start screaming from the rooftops. It's time to get tomato red-faced again and to introduce Tom Aspinall to the fucking world, because let's be honest, hardcore fans know him. Hardcore fans like him. We all respect how dangerous he is. I've gone on record saying Tom Aspinall is the most dangerous man in the history of combat sports. I know I made a video the other day saying Magomed would give him a 50-50 fight. I'm just saying lighter man skill is real. That speed, people, Tom Aspinall would speed Magomed. Magomed's super fast. I'm not saying Magomed wins. I'm just saying it'd be his toughest fight, okay? Aside from Jones. But listen, it's time to introduce him to the world, like you were trying to do with Ngannou back in the day, where they were, Dana White had the PR team on the top mountain in the world. They had him on fucking Mount Everest, and they were doing the drums, and Dana White was shouting from the rooftops. It's time to do that. It's time to market him as the humble UK giant that's laying people out, that's knocking people out, that's twisting people into a pretzel in the first 5 seconds. He's the baddest human being on the face of the fucking earth, and he's the greatest fighter in history. Tyson Fury, Mike Tyson, Ali, Muhammad Ali, no, Joe Frazier, okay, Fedor Emelianenko, Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic, Marty Lewis. Nobody wants the smoke with this guy, and we're going to market the fuck out of him for the next 10 years. Okay? Nobody will beat him. Do you want to see someone catch a body on TV? Watch this pay-per-view with him and Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane is this elusive guy. He's this elusive, he moves around like a cat, man. Let's erase the Jones Cyril Gane fight from memory so people forget that, but I'm just joking around. But listen, Mighty Mouse is doing more, okay? MMA YouTube is doing more for Tom Aspinall and promoting him because the UFC has totally left him in the dust. Dana White went on primetime ESPN, sat down with Stephen A. Smith, and they didn't mention Tom Aspinall's name once. after having a 6-minute conversation about Jon Jones' future. Fucking disgraceful. It's time to change up now. He's got everything. He's got the power. He's got the submission game. Shortest average fight time ever. All right? He's actually, the heavyweights aren't known for having these, great trash talking ability or whatever, but Tom Aspinall is a really interesting guy. He's given great interviews. He's well-spoken. He's interesting to listen to. He's passionate about the game. He's everything you could fucking ask for. Stipe was like that, but, Stipe, he'd be hard to understand sometimes. Not with Aspinall, man. This guy is marketable. It's time to do a 180. It's time to admit that Jones didn't want the smoke, okay? And it's time to move on. And you know what? All you have to do is create a stacked card. This is my idea. This is my boy. This is my friend, Turki Al Sheikh. Turki Ali. I call him Turki Ali because we're friends. But Turki Ali is a huge UFC fan, big Nick Diaz fan. He loves the UFC. And, Dana White was doing this little promotion for Crawford and Canelo, and Turki Al Sheikh didn't like the slacking, but they helped Dana White with the Sphere card. Turki Al Sheikh will see the potential that Tom Aspinall has. Who knows, maybe he can convince Francis Ngannou to fight Tom Aspinall. Maybe we can say, you know what? Forget Jon Jones. We got Turki. Maybe he can get Francis Ngannou and Tom Aspinall to fight. And okay, maybe they do it in Saudi Arabia. If you can't do that, whatever, all right? But we can still go to Abu Dhabi. If we can't do the Saudi Arabia card with the help of Turki Al Sheikh, and he can help promote this fight too, I'm just giving you guys ideas. I'm just telling the UFC, listen, Tom Aspinall has everything that you could possibly want except for this crazy trash talking ability, whatever. But he's got the fight style. He's got the entertainment factor. Okay, he's got the aura. He made Jon Jones the go to the sport retire. You can create a massive pay-per-view that will draw, that will prove to these big companies, Amazon, Netflix, whoever they decide to go with, it will prove that Tom Aspinall has potential to be a megastar. It's what they did with O'Malley. UFC 299, O'Malley isn't a big draw. Okay, they put Dustin Poirier on the card. They put Pyotr Jan Song Yadong on the card. They put a bunch of other good fights on the card. This is my proposed card for Tom Aspinall's next fight. Abu Dhabi, Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. You got to do a fresh matchup. I know Gane is technically coming off of a robbery win against Volkov, and Volkov deserves this fight more, but you got to do a fresh matchup. You got to sell it as, power striker versus the volume striker. I hope that the UFC can do something good for Volkov, but you got to do something fresh, and this is fresh. And this is a guy that Jones beat that the UFC would like to see Aspinall go out there and beat super quickly as well in an impressive fashion. This is the main event. Sadly, the heavyweight division, because Tom Aspinall has basically destroyed most of the top 10 heavyweights, this is the only interesting new fight. And then after that, Magomed Ankalaev, the light heavyweight champion, is the only interesting fight. But we're just going to need to market Aspinall on. He's going to just go out there and destroy everyone because that's literally what he'll do. This is not enough to be a mega card. So Magomed Ankalaev, Alex Pereira, the rematch in Abu Dhabi. Yuri Prochazka is busy with his studies, okay? The stars have to align to get Yuri back in the octagon as always. I don't blame him. Let Yuri do his thing. He'll come back when he's ready. But this is a perfect co-main event. Similar to UFC 280, what was it? 283 or not 283. It was like UFC, I don't remember. It was the MSG card a while ago. Okay? It was the MSG card. I think it was UFC 295. They did Yuri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira 1. They did, I believe, Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich because Jones pulled out of the Stipe fight with the injury. But now these guys are so much bigger as far as star power is concerned, as far as popularity is concerned. When Alex Pereira fought Yuri Prochazka for the first time, that was before the UFC 300 moment. That was before the International Fight Week head kick KO over Yuri Prochazka. That was before the Salt Lake City Khalil Roundtree fight. He is a much bigger star now. And this is a highly anticipated rematch between him and Magomed Ankalaev. You do this in Abu Dhabi, the Abu Dhabi crowd is going to get behind Magomed. It's going to feel like a really big fight. This is the perfect fight to have underneath a heavyweight title with Tom Aspinall, who is way more popular today than he was when he fought Sergey Pavlovich at that MSG card a few years ago. Because now the UFC should market him to the world, should promote him as the guy that made Jones retire, should promote him as the most dangerous fighter the world has ever seen, the most spectacular heavyweight athlete the martial arts game has ever seen, combat sports has ever seen. After promoting him, after going on primetime shows, maybe getting Turki Al Ali, okay? Just doing all that. That would make it huge. And then, don't stop there. Make it even more stacked. Petr Yan versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Title eliminator, or at least for Yan. Because if he wins this, that would be a 3-fight win streak. Make this fight. You really need to stack it. You must stack it. I know that Yan and Umar are not going to be big in the eyes of the casuals, but for hardcore fans, we see a third fight on the card like this. We're going to be talking about this card nonstop, 2 months out, 3 months out. This fight is amazing. Make this fight. If Yan wins, he gets to fight for the title again. Okay, this is a great matchup. It's a fresh matchup. Yan versus Umar. Some people are going to say it's too stacked. You got to, because you got to come out with a bang for Tom Aspinall and his new introduction to the world. Move on from Jon Jones. Make an unbelievably stacked card. Underneath that, Gene Silva. Highlight reel Gene Silva and Lerone Murphy. This is a good fight for the second fight on the pay-per-view. It's a step down from Yan and Umar, but it's still a sick fight. Gene Silva has a lot of hype. He's got a really entertaining style. Lerone Murphy, undefeated, ranked. He's well-rounded. This is a perfect fight to put underneath that. And then this card is so stacked you can do whatever you want for the first fight to open up the main card. But if they make this, after promoting Tom Aspinall the way that they should, after trying to get the casuals to like Tom Aspinall, to want to see him fight, which they will be able to do if they just use their fucking PR team, okay? This card, with the promotion, I am telling you right now, this would be the biggest card of the year. 100%. People were talking about UFC 314, Volk and Diego Lopez's. That was the first real great card of the year. I finally had a great pay-per-view, right? This is way better than that, all right? 2 heavyweight fights, light heavyweight, heavyweight, Alex Pereira to help Tom Aspinall out. Poatan, the casuals love Poatan, right? Yan, Umar, brother, hardcore fight. All right, we got Gene Silva and Lerone Murphy, hardcore fans fight. Do whatever you want to open up the card. I was thinking maybe Paddy Pimblett, he's calling out Justin Gaethje for Abu Dhabi. They need to stack it. You have no excuse not to, all right? This will sell. They will recover. They will be able to prove that, you know what, we came out with a bang with Tom Aspinall. And look, this guy is a star. He's young. He's in his prime. We're going to have this guy for the next 4 or 5 years, however long he wants to compete. I'm sure Aspinall is going to want to fight at least, 3 or 4 more times. That will be very valuable. And, as I said, if you want to get that Ngannou fight, maybe talk to Turkey, right? So I think that's what they should do. And you don't have an issue. Tom Aspinall can be that big star, but they need to come out with a stacked card, and I hope they do it in Abu Dhabi. So let's hope. If you're watching this and you work for the UFC, or you know someone that works for the UFC, please send them this video, although it probably won't do shit. But MMA YouTube, we know what's up, right? So either way, this is the card to make. Let's talk about this a little bit. Topuria wants to move up to 170. People are saying this is cringy. Oh, bro, will you defend the title? This guy's allergic to defending the title. I've seen that comment way too much at this point. He literally defended the title against Max Holloway. And listen, this is clearly just Ilia Topuria wanting to fight Islam Makhachev. He wants the toughest fight on the fucking planet. And I know that there's a lot of people these days that are saying Makhachev's not hiding from Topuria. He wants the real tough fights at 170. Those are way tougher fights. And don't get me wrong. It's a different challenge. You can make an argument that a guy like Jack Della Maddalena, Sean Brady, those are tougher fights. But we cannot forget. We can't just move on. Topuria versus Oliveira is great. I'm excited. Okay? Makhachev versus JDM is great. But Ilia Topuria is desperate to give the fans what we want, what we need, which is, if Topuria beats Oliveira and Makhachev beats JDM, I think that this is wishful thinking and we'll probably never get it because if Makhachev wins at 170, he's never going to want to cut weight down to 155 again. He's just never going to want to do it. Topuria moving up to 170 would just be ridiculous at that point. Like, come on, that's just pathetic at that point. I think that the UFC should recognize if both of these guys win their next fight, it's such a good fight that you need to make the world stop for this. Even if you don't want to do it at 155, do it at 160 pounds. Do it at 162. It's too good. No, Ilia Topuria, you don't need the belt, but you got to respect it, man. Who chases after Makhachev 2 weight classes to get him? You got to respect this, man. I sound like Dana White saying, how could you not love this guy like he used to do to Conor McGregor, but come on, you got to respect this shit. He is dedicated to giving the fans the best fight. And there's people out here saying, he's a fucking idiot, man. Get in your place, man. Dude, he wants to give us a sick fight. It's still the best fight on earth. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. Even if they got to do a freaking catch weight, bro. A catch weight title. This is the real BMF title. You know they're doing the BMF title with Max Holloway and Gagey? This is the fucking BMF title. Just do... You know what? Do the pound for pound title. You don't even need to do a belt. Just make this the pound for pound #1 fight like they did with Volk and Islam. And if Islam says, but they didn't give me pound for pound after the Volk fight, well, then they'll do it after this one, bro. Okay? And you know what? If Makhachev beats JDM, he might retire. But you got to respect the fact that Topuria is really chasing after Makhachev. And you cannot tell me, get in your place and defend your title. Yeah, dude, Ilia Topuria is such a pussy, bro. He doesn't want to fight the killers like Diego Lopez. He doesn't want to fight the monsters like Lerone Murphy. He's ducking Bryce Mitchell and Lerone Murphy, bro. He's ducking Paddy Pimblett at 155, man. He's scared shitless of Arman. I've heard that a million times. Bro's scared of Arman. He wants Makhachev specifically. It's not about scared of this guy. He wants the best fight. You want the best fight, bro. Enough. All right? Dude, I'm getting freaking hyped, bro. Anyway, I've got a bad feeling about Arman Tsarukyan. I think this is the last thing that we're going to talk about, speaking of Arman. Arman Tsarukyan. Where is this guy? I know that the UFC offered him a Gamrot fight, which is so disrespectful. And I understand that he pulled out of the title fight with Islam Makhachev a day before and he jeopardized the event. We had to sit through Makhachev, take out Moicano really easily and whatnot. And I understand not giving him a title shot, but like Arman Tsarukyan, let's not forget how excited we were to see him rematch Islam Makhachev. Let's not forget that he beat Charles Oliveira and now they're giving Oliveira a title shot. Arman Tsarukyan should be in a mandatory #1 contenders fight. And I'm worried because it seems like he's getting left out. They gave Oliveira, the guy that's coming off of a loss to Arman. I know he beat Michael Chandler and whatnot, but he lost to Arman Tsarukyan, who was supposed to fight for the title. They're doing Oliveira versus Topuria. I understand Oliveira's a bigger name. He had the Oliveira era. He's got a huge fan base. It's a big fight. It makes sense. Oh, wait. Okay, whatever. All right. But you got Paddy Pimblett calling out Justin Gaethje for Abu Dhabi. And you just know that if Paddy Pimblett beats Justin Gaethje and Ilia beats Charles Oliveira, because of the history with Pimblett and Ilia, they had a little beef back in the day, they would try to make this fight in an instant, in a heartbeat. And I just am worried that Arman Tsarukyan is going to get left behind. You know? Like, Arman and Pimblett should be the fight to make. I don't want to see Pimblett fight another old man. I'm not saying that, he gets no credit for beating Michael Chandler. He dominated Michael Chandler. That's a great win. And he's proven himself as a legit lightweight. But if they make him fight Justin Gaethje, make him fight. If they give him Justin Gaethje, a guy with no submission defense that almost got inverted triangled against Rafael Fiziev, it's just clear that they're rushing Pimblett to the belt. The fight to make would be Pimblett versus Arman. Okay? But if they don't do that, I just need to see Arman get at least a Dan Hooker fight. Like, I just hate the fact that this guy is probably going to have to win 2 more fights. He beat Beneil Dariush, knocked him out, who was coming off of 1 loss at the time. I know it seems like Dariush has 10 losses in a row right now, but Dariush lost to Oliveira. He was 1 fight away from fighting for the title, and then he fought Arman and got KO'd, right? Arman Tsarukyan knocks out Beneil Dariush. Then he beats Charles Oliveira legitimately, okay? And that's where he's at. And he's been undefeated since he fought Makhachev back in the day, before anyone says about the Gamrot fight, that was a robbery. He beat Mateusz Gamrot. That was a robbery, 100%. Okay? It feels like Arman is 2 wins away now. And I understand you don't gift him a title shot right away, but he's too good to just forget about. And I don't want to see this guy turn into someone like Muhammad Bakayev, where the UFC just cuts ties with him and he goes to a different promotion. And, there's going to be some fans that just, they don't like Arman or whatever because he annoys them or he pulled out, brother, chickened out, brother. And they're just going to gloat about it and say, dude, Arman sucks anyway, man. He pulled out. He was scared of Islam. Scared. Like, there's just people that are going to be fucking unbelievably delusional about this. We need to remember, this guy's legit. He beat Charles Oliveira. He's only 28. He's just reaching his prime. There were people picking him to beat Islam Makhachev. That was one of the most exciting fights you could possibly make. Let's not part ways with Arman. Let's not just forget about him and make him, go down a crazy route to get to the title. Because it would be a shame to have the lightweight division miss or lose out on, which could be their best fighter right now. Now that Makhachev left lightweight, Arman could be the best fighter at lightweight. He could have beaten Makhachev. We don't know, but he's clearly as elite as it gets. He proved that against Oliveira. So I want to at least see him fight Dan Hooker. I just want an Arman Tsarukyan fight announcement. That's it. I just want to see an announcement with Arman. And I just wanted to mention this in my video because, there's a lot of people watching this. And we cannot allow the UFC to just let him slip through the cracks, go to a different promotion, and then try to act like it doesn't matter. Well, that guy doesn't matter anymore. No one cares about Arman. He's boring. He was a boring fighter that no one wanted to see. Like, dude, this guy's not boring. His striking was improving. He's got high output on the feet. He beats the crap out of people on the ground. He's got a crazy finishing rate. He's an extremely exciting fighter. We can't let this guy leave the UFC. He's too good. They must book him in a high-level matchup, right? They got to do him versus Dan Hooker, or they got to do him versus Pimblett. Because, listen, I want Pimblett to go into, if he does end up fighting for a title, I want to at least have him coming off of a win against someone in their prime. If he beats Justin Gaethje and gets a title shot, that would be 5 wins in a row against old heads. Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler, Bobby Green, okay? Tony Ferguson. Like, you just can't call yourself undoubtedly the best contender in the lightweight division when you've just beaten the old heads. I know Gaethje's a tough out, but not for a grappler like Pimblett. And you don't get to say, bro, that's ridiculous. You can't have him fight Arman. Now you're just trying to see him lose. Well, doesn't that say something? I mean, doesn't that say that you know that Arman's that good? Because most people would pick Arman. I don't want to see this fight just because I want Arman to win. I just want to see Patty fight someone in their prime. And at the very least, if they're set on doing Pimblett versus Gaethje so they can rush Pimblett to the title so that he can fight Ilia Topuria, then at least just give Arman another fight and just give him another chance. Because he's too good of a fighter, he's too well-rounded, he's too exciting, he's too elite, he's in his prime. We cannot just leave this guy out of the UFC just because he pulled out of a fucking title fight, as if that's never happened before, as if Khabib hasn't pulled out of title fights, as if Tony Ferguson hasn't pulled out of title fights, as if tons of fighters haven't pulled out. Holloway against Ortega the first time. So many fighters have pulled out of big fights, okay? It doesn't mean it should be the end of their career, especially if they're just entering their prime and they're that good. We can't have what may be the best grappler in martial arts go to another promotion and have the other promotion claim that they have the best guy in the world. We got to keep him in the UFC. We can't let the UFC or silly fans gaslight us into thinking that Arman was boring and no one cared about him and he was scared, man. Fuck that bullshit, dude. We can't allow that. So that's all I wanted to talk about. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Until next time.